Hey everybody, my name is Corey. I'm the commissioner of the Platinum Cup Fantasy Hockey League. I am making this video because there has been a good deal of confusion around the UFA rules in the league. Understandably so, as it's kind of unique to this format and likely something that you haven't encountered before. So, what I want to do today is talk a little bit about how the UFA rules work and just kind of delve into that a bit. So the first thing I want to talk about is the drafts. So we are going to have two separate drafts during the summer. The first one is going to be the entry draft, and what you're probably more accustomed to seeing from other formats. The entry draft is where you will draft prospects who are eligible for this year's entry draft in real life. So, Matthew Schaefer, um, James Hagens, Michael Misa, those guys for the 25 off season anyway. But then later in the off season, we're going to have a second draft, the UFA draft. That is where you are going to draft anybody who is currently in the free agent pool. So, um, you know, right now, these are the kind of guys who are out there. I do expect that more players will be out there as the offseason progresses because, um, we'll get more into that. For right now, I want to go back to a roster page and kind of look at the way that your draft picks are displayed in Fantrax. So down here at the bottom, you're going to see up to 3 years of draft picks. Your current year, 2025, next year, 2026, and then the final year, 2027. Um, Now, if you're fully paid up, you're able to trade all 3 years worth of picks. If you haven't paid this year's entry fee yet, you can't currently trade the 27 picks. But anyway, so even though we're having two drafts, which will be held offline from Fantrax, they're going to be held on Discord, probably with some Google Sheets involvement. More details on that to come later. Even though we're having two drafts, the Fantrax software itself only supports one. And so, just going to be super clear here, any draft picks you have that are in rounds 1 through 5, those are for your entry draft. That's to draft the prospects, the Michael Misas, and those guys. Any draft picks you have that are in rounds 6 and 7, those are for the UFA draft. Okay, one more time. Rounds 1 through 5, entry draft. Rounds 6 and 7, UFA draft. Okay, so now that we have that covered, I want to talk about how players get added into the free agent pool for the UFA draft. So, looking at a roster screen, you have 3 columns of information here. EXP, if you hover over it, it'll tell you that's the last year of the contract. FA, that's the contract expiration status. And then info, this is kind of any miscellaneous note that may pertain to this player. So, importantly, when you're looking at your roster for this offseason, the first thing you want to check to determine your offseason plans is going to be this one here, EXP, the last year of contract. Any player whose EXP year shows 2025 is a player that you would need to address this offseason. Now, if you're watching this video in a future year, adjust the year numbers accordingly. But so EXP, you're going to scroll down. Anybody who is in 2025, this is a player you would need to address. Um, Moving on, the contract expiration status. This is vital. Okay, if you listen to nothing else in this video, listen to this. The expiration status of your player, whether it's a UFA or an RFA, is crucial to whether you get to keep the player or not. If he's expiring this year in 2025 and he's an RFA, you get to keep him, period, point blank. Excuse me. If he's a UFA and he's expiring in 2025, you will lose that player unless you engage with the keeper mechanics, which I'm going to go into more detail here coming up. Any player who is a UFA that you do end up losing will get added back into the free agent pool and be eligible for any team to select during the UFA draft. The info column is a little less important than the other two, but it can have important notes in there, such as if you have any players who've had a new extension posted already, or just other odds and ends from time to time. things like retention can be posted here. Um, anyway, I want to make one point very, very clear. Even if a player has an extension, his current free agent status will still apply. So even if you have a player who has been extended by his same team in real life, or signed with another team, whatever, he'll still fall under the same RFA or UFA handling rules, um, regardless. So let's look at some examples. Let's take a look. I already talked through Nashville's roster with him, so his will be an easy one for me to discuss. So from the top down, let's just go through his roster and see what players he needs to address this offseason. So I'm going to go to the EXP column. Okay, this player's expiring in 2025, Mason McTavish, but he's an RFA. So there's very little pressure on the Nashville GM here to do anything because as an RFA, he gets to keep him no matter what. Um, and then when his new extension gets posted, Nashville can just simply accept that extension and move on. Easy peasy. Scrolling down, the next player in 2025 is Vlad Gavrikov. So 2025, and this one is a UFA. So Nashville is currently at risk of losing Gavrikov this offseason. Okay, we're going to talk more about that in a minute. Next line down, we have Esa Lindell. Esa Lindell is a 2025 UFA. So this is the same thing as Gavrikov. Nashville is currently at risk of losing him. Note, Lindell does already have a known extension, 5 years and 5.25 million per year. Um, Despite knowing this, Nashville is still at risk of losing him this offseason. Moving down his list, 2025 RFA, Colangelo. He's an RFA, so again, very little risk to Nashville here. Same thing for Hoglander. Same thing for Toropchenko. Same thing for Zeri. We're going to keep scrolling down. I'm not going to talk about his prospects much just because I don't want this video to get super long. We're going to move on to his goaltenders. So both Blackwood and Ullmark are currently UFAs expiring this offseason. So Nashville is currently at risk of losing both of them, again, despite the fact that their extensions are already known and posted. So what can Nashville do? So he has a couple of choices. He has 4 players who are expiring UFAs, right? He has Ullmark, Blackwood, Gavrikov, and Lindell. He'll have to make decisions on these players. You can choose to do nothing and simply lose these players. That's fine. You can then seek to replace them through the UFA draft or through trades or whatever. Um, so that's option 1. Option 2 is you can choose to designate these players keepers, meaning you won't lose them. Well, how do you do that? If you want to designate a player a keeper, what you have to do, there's going to be a spot on Discord when I open it up for you to make that decision, to make it official. But in order to do it, you must have an associated UFA draft pick. So down here, Nashville has 2 UFA draft picks, his 6th and his 7th. So let's say he likes Blackwood's extension and he wants to keep him around long term. All he would have to do is designate Blackwood a keeper, and you sacrifice or forfeit your highest UFA pick. So his 6th round UFA pick is then essentially being used preemptively to just keep Blackwood. Okay? That means he has 1 UFA pick remaining. He can now choose to do nothing and take that UFA pick into the UFA draft and choose someone new, or he can sacrifice that one too. He can just simply say, hey, I want to keep, I want to keep Lindell. If he wants to keep Lindell as well, he would designate him a keeper. His 7th UFA would be gone. He would have used both. Um, and then when the time comes, Ullmark and Gavrikov would be removed from his roster. Lindell and Blackwood would be retained. He would have no remaining UFA draft picks going into the UFA draft. So when his turn came around, he would simply be skipped. I think that should make that fairly clear, but just in case not, we're going to go do one more example. We're going to look at Carolina. So going from the top down, he has Kurashev expiring in 25. That's an RFA, so no real risk there. 25 RFA here. Again, no real risk. 25 UFA. Here we go. gosh, his name, Mangiapane, something along those lines. He's a 25 UFA, and so that is somebody he is at risk of losing. Continuing to go down, Harris is an RFA, Mukammadulin is an RFA, Nyquist is a UFA. Here we go. So Gustav Nyquist is an expiring UFA. That is somebody who Carolina is at risk for losing. Same thing for Sprong. Same thing for Yoki Haru. So that's 4 skaters he's at risk of losing. Looks like there might even be one in here in his prospects, Barry Boulet. Going down further, he has Vanacek as another player he's at risk of losing. So that's what, 5 did I say, I think? You have Vanacek, Yoki Haru, Christensen, Sprong, Nyquist, Mangiapane, and maybe that was it. Anyway, um, of course, so that's more than he's going to have in terms of UFA picks, right? He has 2 UFA picks. Again, those are tradable. You can go out and get more if you want to keep more of these players, um, but you're given 2 by default. So he can choose to keep any 2 of those players. Let's say he wanted, I don't know, a lot of these are kind of depth players. Let's say he wanted to keep Nyquist and Vanacek around. He would just sacrifice these UFA picks, keep those 2 players. The rest would be dropped from his roster and added to the free agent pool for anyone to add during the UFA draft. Of course, maybe with these mostly being depth players, maybe he just decides he doesn't want to keep any of them. And that's fine. He could drop all those players I just named and go into the UFA draft free and clear with his 6th and 7th in hand and simply try to find new players to replace them. So that's kind of the basics of how it works. I want to talk a little bit also about trade valuation when it comes to these picks. So we've seen some trades posted already with the values maybe not quite where everyone expected them to be, and that's okay. Everybody's learning right now, so I don't want to harp on this too bad. But I encourage you to think about the types of players that a draft pick is going to get, right? So we're a 32 team league. If you have a 3rd round pick in a 32 team league, so here, you're talking about somebody that's going to be drafted between what, 65th and what, 90 something, 97th ish, roughly. And that's an entry draft prospect. So it's somebody who's likely not going to be playing in the NHL for 3 to 5 years, right? If they make it at all, typically. Okay, there's value there. That's good. I mean, you could hit a diamond in the rough and get a really good prospect. We've seen it happen. So that is a valuable thing to have. But let's talk about what a UFA draft pick can give you. You've seen 2 examples of the kinds of players that teams are at risk of losing right now. Given that every team is going to be facing those same types of critical decisions, the UFA pool is fixing to get injected with several new players. And these are players today. These are players who can help your roster right now try to compete to get you into a money-winning position. Um, Now, is it likely that you're going to be adding a top-end superstar using a UFA draft pick? No, because I expect that their current owner would have done everything they could to retain them. They would have sacrificed their 6th or 7th picks, whatever, in order to keep them. That's to be expected. But there will be quality lineup players available in the UFA draft. Exactly how much and to what extent, we'll just have to learn together. This is our first off season doing this, so I expect that we're all going to see how the UFA flow goes this off season and adjust our own expectations and valuations accordingly. But no matter what, these are players. These are not prospects. These are guys who can help you today. And if not, even if you don't use them for that, they're also more keeper slots. So these can help you keep your current roster that you've built together. These, in my opinion, should be valued higher than a single prospect pick. Now, I'm not saying it's valued higher than like a first rounder or anything crazy like that, but if I have a 3rd round UFA pick, excuse me, I'm sorry, if I have a 3rd round entry draft pick, or if I have a 1st round UFA pick, I'm taking that 1st round UFA pick all day, unless I'm just in a total rebuild. Um, But as pointed out by another person in the Discord, valuation is subjective. Of course, this is going to be influenced by your team's needs, where you're building for, what you're trying to do. Um, and so, yeah, valuation is subjective. But also, market valuation is a real thing too. And a few of these early trades that were posted may have inadvertently tanked the value of UFA picks, but you're not obligated to honor those values when negotiating future trades. You can see that they were made, that's fine, but you don't have to accept that same valuation. You value your pieces where you value them, and if you don't like the offer you're getting, you can simply decline. Um, you are not under any obligation to make a trade just to do so. Um, so I encourage you to think about your picks in terms of what they're going to get you for your roster. Um, and value that appropriately. If you have any questions or would like a second opinion, I will always be happy to provide one. Feel free to reach out, and I will give you to the best of my ability an unbiased opinion on what I think your assets are worth and the proposal you might be negotiating. That's really all I have to say today. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions, as always, reach out to me. You can post in the general chat of our Discord, or you can DM me directly, whatever you'd like to do. Yeah, that's all I got. Thank you for listening.